I'm still learning Zoom.
Oh, there we go.
It's so nice to meet you, Michael.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure. So there's been a resonance here with your sharing.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I've listened to some of your stuff along the way and recently, and me too with you. We both resonate with Tim Kliss and Sander, and there's something just so unique about each one of them. But yeah, the rawness of Tim and the directness of Sander.
Yeah, there's a kind of a like a down home simplicity the way you share, you know. Of course, I love accents, you know. To me, the Southern accent could just charm me for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but I love all accents. It's funny, Persian accents, like I'm just fascinated by like the voices, the different sounds that this can make.
Yeah, me too. And sometimes when I listen to somebody for a while, my inner monologue will sound like them for a while. Does that
Oh,
happen to you?
oh my God, my sister, like I'll start talking to like a Mexican person or a Chinese person, and I'll start talking like them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
in there, my sister will be elbowing me, you know, would you stop it? You know,
Yeah, it's like you absorb them for a little while.
yeah, I just like it just seems to happen automatically. Like I don't try, but I just so in love with the different dialects.
hmm Yeah, I've noticed recently I'm able to admire people more than well, my whole life because I was just so blinded by my fear of them. Um, but now it's they're fascinating. Mhm.
Yeah, you and I share because you said something interesting in one of your talks. You said like something like, well, I can, you know, I can kind of sort of remember what it was like to suffer. Like, but it's not as strong, right? Like you can't, it's very, but I remember too, like growing up with depression and my parents both uh well basically committed suicide.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that thing about it running in the family, you know, the
Yeah.
mental illness.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, it was there was always here there was always a sense of confusion.
Yeah.
Like what is going on? Like I was just something felt off about life, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you took the words right out of my mouth. It's like there was a confusion, but there wasn't an ability to fully feel it because it was like there's a desperation that I can't allow myself to be confused. I have to strive. I have to figure this out. So I couldn't really just like be confused. I was always
No.
reaching for something.
Yeah, yeah. No, knowledge is king. You know, knowledge is king around here.
Yeah, it's drilled into our head since we're like babies. We're treated like free agents, and once that kind of sinks in, it was about 10 years old for me when it really hit me hard. Like, wow, I am separate. I mean, I didn't have those words for it, but it was like I have to survive. I have to be socially acceptable and, not show weakness and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, I wish I was never born, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, here was always something wanted to connect with other, you know, to meet like a girlfriend and fall in love, and she would get me, you know, she would understand me, like we would, you know, the two of us in the world. And it was just such a fantasy, that whole thing is based in imagination.
Yeah, I have a healthy marriage now with my husband, but um I had a hard time holding down jobs and being independent. It was debilitating, the anxiety and depression. And I would just like freak out like a chihuahua, at work, and I couldn't think because I was trying so hard to understand the training, and it was like a vicious cycle. And but anyway, I did that too with relationships. I thought if only I could just find my soulmate, and it'll just be us and it'll be perfect and that's all I need.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
they never give you what you want because you want them to love you unconditionally, right? And and you're like a leech on them, and
Exactly. Yeah,
mhm.
like basically I wasn't happy in when I was like unless I was around her. It's like, oh, clock watching. Oh, 6 more hours and I'm gonna be with my sweetie and then all will be good.
Yeah, I remember staring out the door and just being like, when is he gonna get home? And I don't know, it was like a drug, you know.
It was. It really, and when they were away, you couldn't be around them, but you were still jonesing. It was a drug. Like, God, so it was like, now it's so obvious that it was this attachment to an object. It's like this turns everything, it's only interested in objects.
Yeah. Yeah, I was finally able to have a healthy relationship whenever I just kind of like swore men off, I was like, this isn't it. So as soon as that happened, it was like the universe was like, okay, here you go.
Ah, well, I think I heard you say something about like he's still a Christian and you just agree to disagree.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I was brutally honest with him about all of my baggage from the very beginning. I told him I drink too much and just on and on and on. I told him I wasn't Christian and I never would be. And I thought I would scare him off, you know what I mean? But he was actually very, he fell in love with the honesty and he didn't hold it against me, and uh, I'm sure he wishes, I would convert, but I mean, he loves me anyway, so it works.
Yeah, that's something beautiful about agreeing to disagree.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's kind of rare.
Yeah. It is special. There's something beautiful about it. Mm.
I guess it's like there's a beauty in not trying to change others.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't do that to him, sometimes he's curious since I started making content about like what am I talking about?
Yeah,
And I was like, well, I let him hear some of it and he was like, that literally makes no sense. And I was like, I know.
right. Which
I was
doesn't
like,
help, right? You're so calm about it. You're like, yeah, I know.
yeah. I'm like, we're just a bunch of weirdos trying to describe the indescribable.
Well, that's what I was saying to Sander. So Sander and I, like I this is kind of a funny story. I could tell you about Sander when I first, so I didn't like Sander when I first met him. He used to come by about 6 months ago, and almost on every post he'd write apparently in the comment section. And I'm like, what is this dude's problem? It was like the non-duality police showing up. And so, like, I would never answer him. Like in this, like he would do it on every post for, I don't know, it felt like a couple months. And then I don't know what happened, but I went to one of his meetings or something, and like all of a sudden we like, I don't know, we just felt like we had this bromance where he was calling me every day and we would laugh about it. I said, do you remember when you used to post and I didn't really appreciate all of and he goes, oh yeah, I knew you didn't like it because you never answered me. And now, like, I mean, we don't talk every day like we used to, but for like 2 months, we were talking like 2-hour video sessions just about everything.
Wow. Yeah, he can be brutal. When I first got on Facebook a few months ago to try to promote the channel, I would post something and then somebody would say, "Well, who's there to say that?" And I would be like, "What?" You know, but I'm starting to calm down a little bit and just be like, well, nothing true can be said, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I agree. It took me a while to acclimate to that kind of a comment. Like, you know, and I sometimes still see it, at like meetings where someone will go, well, that's a story. And then, someone will say, well, that's a story too.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all just coming out of nowhere, and it can be anything. It can be embarrassing. You could wish you wouldn't have said that, or I mean, any potentiality can happen. A lot of the time, I say something, and then I'm like, no, or I'm just laughing at myself all the time when I talk. It's playful.
Yeah. Well, that is, you know, from that intense existential fear, right? That's completely a knot. It's horrible. It really, here, it was hair on fire. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't funny. You know,
Yeah.
um, it was dead serious because I almost came in like feeling the oddball, like from a kid. I just never could quite figure out, like, wow, they all seem like they know what they're doing. How did they do that?
Yeah, I was the same way. Um, yeah, I felt like an alien or something. I felt shame because I wasn't happy and everybody else seemed to be happy. And I don't know why, but I just blamed myself for it. You know what I mean? Like, as if that was going to solve anything. But it's kind of like this weird inverted ego or narcissism where you're just like, I'm the biggest loser. Nobody understands me, you know, and you sort of isolate yourself in that way. But it's hell to live that way.
Yeah, it's funny how being a victim isn't seen as a belief.
Right. Right. That one's is really sneaky. Hmm. Yeah, I used to think I was the smartest person in the room and the most misunderstood, and you know, uh, those things aren't fun to see through. You're kind of humiliated when you're like, "Wow, I'm full of crap." You know what I mean? Like ultimately, truly.
Well, here, as I sometimes share, eventually nothing worked. Not that I could try everything, but I like read enough books and watched enough videos, and finally, it's like I just like gave up. I was like, nah, I'm not. It's not. It's just not. I could just see. I go everything, even if it's like a new relationship, right? Could start out with fireworks, and then like all of a sudden it's like that person doesn't do it for you anymore, and now you got to move on to something else. And I could just see the futility of the something else was never gonna. It was always gonna run out of gas sooner or later.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what it is, but it's like a biscuit. It's not done till it's done.
Wait, isn't that your cat's name?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if you have a cat, but sometimes they'll need like this,
Hmm.
like when they're nursing when they're kittens. And he does that a lot. So I was like, we're gonna name him Biscuit. Like he's making biscuits.
Ah, that's funny.
Uh, But yeah, that it was sort of like a wall, it felt like, when Seeking fell away. Um it's hard to describe without it sounding like something that happened.
I
You know
know.
what I mean?
I do.
Because it's more like a unhappening, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It's sort of like the inability to think that you're right anymore.
That's it. Oh, that's so good. That's so good, Mike. I need to write that down. I love that. Wow. Yeah, it is that. It is that. It's like, oh my God, nothing is true. Like nothing. As far
Exactly.
as that can be said or thought, like, and what is true is fleeting. It's so fleeting. It can't even be reflected upon. That's the alreadyness, you talk about. It's not only that no one is here already. It's that alreadyness is. It's just like it's sort of like a falling, like a free fall kind of feeling. Um, it's just like nothing can be done because it is already, you know.
You're always late.
Yeah. Yeah. And anytime you say something or think something, I mean, not that you would, but anytime that happens, it's sort of like trying to pull time with you or stretch it or something like that.
Oh man, last Wednesday night, I have meetings on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And, I talked about how powerful, like seeing that there was never a past.
Yeah. Yeah. And and then once you see the meaninglessness and the emptiness, when the past comes up, it's not a problem, or even the future, it becomes like not a problem. When I was seeking, I would be like, oh, I'm having thoughts, I'm in time, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like I gotta be in the present.
I'm in time.
Or all these things we make all these things the bad guy, thoughts, ideas,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
knowledge even, and it's just how the mind can um or how this can appear as sort of like it it turns everything into a conceptual thing, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a handhold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
now
And it's even worse for the spiritual aspirant, right? Because not only did, if I like lost my temper or raised my voice, I would feel bad and guilty because spiritual people, right? So it's like a double whammy. I shouldn't have done that. I'm not there yet. You know,
yeah.
I'm not, and it's so freeing. I loved your post. You said free to be lost, bound, and separate.
Yes.
Or actually, it was my post of your words from a video. That's what it was. I posted your
Oh,
in my community. Yeah, yeah, because that's a freedom. It's so free. It can be anything.
yeah. And it isn't freedom for anyone. And that's what we want. We want me to be free, I want to become something better. And
Yeah, I want to be there. I want to be there for this enlightenment. Come on.
yeah, I want to be admirable and worthy.
Yeah, and reap the rewards. I want the fruit of the realization. I want to be whatever I imagine.
Yeah, it's so humbling not being able to speak the truth. Yeah. And it's great to be able to laugh at yourself after taking yourself seriously for so long. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. That's the joy is like, because now you're lighter, and so now you see the tightness in others, so to say, and you just have compassion because you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I remember like believing like the stickiness of these beliefs. Like I was talking to Dan on the phone earlier today, and I was telling him about this. I go, well, all is this, even the stickiness to the belief is also this.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what causes that to go away?
Well, the best answer to that is nobody knows,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and nobody wants to hear that.
No.
But that can be the liberation right there. Like nobody knows, like if you could just really hear that. Actually, you were talking about the wall hitting the wall. I would have these depressive states. So it was like, I don't know if you've ever heard Ming and Being, but it just felt
Oh
like
yeah. I call
down.
it the washing machine.
Yeah, it's not fun because you think you made some kind of headway or some clarity or whatever it is, and then you just plummet back down, and And then you're like, what did I do or didn't do to cause this? Um, Finally I said, I can't do this. Whatever it is I'm trying to do, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I actually heard myself. It was like, it was like my whole body was vibrating with it. Like I got it. Like I grokked it. I can't do this. And yeah, it was something about that, like all loss of hope, like complete despair. Um,
Yeah.
but there's something so free about futility. You know what I mean?
Well, for me, the analogy is like banging your head against a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like here, I could only do it so many times. Like try this, try that, try everything. And I just it was felt like banging my head against a wall, like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. And it kept hurting, because you keep chasing. It's a lot of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being like, wow, I'm going to have a lot of free time now.
That's funny. Free time.
Like, for lack of any other better way of describing it, but just like space or something
No, no. I
that
was
was
just
filled up.
laughing about the oxymoron. The word
It,
free and the word time, like are opposite in a way.
yeah, seems to be an oxymoron.
Well, because that's it. For me, there is time. Time is very real, and I only have so much left. And, I have all these questions before I go. Will I continue on?
Yeah, it's something when questions start to fall away, you know. It's so different than just being full of questions. And it's just like that, but going back to the futility of it all, it's just like there's no answers.
Right.
And
That's kind of it though, right, Leela? That's what kind of like you ask enough questions. Again, that's the head beating against the wall. Like you keep hearing like in Kosi sit laugh and say, well, there's just this. Like you hear him say it 100 times. And then finally on the 147th time, oh, he means everything.
yeah, because it's like we have this idea that, well, it's going to be better than this, whatever it is. It's going to be better than this. That is going to be better than this. But we don't realize that that was always this. Whatever it was that we thought it was, projecting it into the future, it was always this. And yeah, it is what it is. It can be horrific. It can be intense. We tend to think that there's not going to be frustration or neurotic behavior or fear or things like that. But all that stuff happens. That's a human body stuff. We're like little kids, believing in Santa Claus, believing in ourself, like an entity and
Mhm.
in our agency. And it's just needing control to feel safe, but there's no safety. Um, there's not safety either. You know what I mean? uh,
Yeah.
it's just like that unknown. I love that word, the unknown or unknowing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's if that resonates, the not like because that's the end of the questions.
Yeah. I'd like to aspire to be like Sander in the way where he like flips everything. He always says the opposite, you know what I mean? I love how he does that. And it's funny to even have thoughts like that. Like I aspire to be, uh a certain way, but it's just so playful.
Well, there's different styles I noticed, right? Because you have Rosa, who's a boomer, the lady boomer, right? Just bam,
Mhm.
everything's boom directly. She's not shy. She has almost like no filter. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it isn't it isn't me, you know, I'm not like, that's not my cup of tea, so to say. Like, you're more like a little more reflective, like a little more thoughtful, like slow, like it's not, I kind of like the silence a little bit, you know, it's like I'm not in a hurry. I don't know. So there can be still preferences for.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly. You know, that somewhere along the way when I was seeking, I heard preferences will fall away. And I was like, what? Like, I can't even imagine that. Like, preferences will fall away. I don't know who said that, but that was very misleading.
Exactly. Or that I'll only have pleasant thoughts.
Bliss.
Yeah. That's then I'll know, you know.
Bliss is a state, you know, and this is all states. So it's the cosmic joke, you know.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, the cosmic joke is that there never was a me.
Yeah. Wow. Who would have ever imagined? What a trick.
Well, that's why, like, you hear them, someone sometimes they'll say, "Well, it's not what I thought it was going to be."
I say that all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
In fact, that was like the main reason why I wanted to make a YouTube channel because I was like, I have to tell people that it's not what they think, you know, because it literally was completely different from anything that I imagined, you know. Um, and you know, there's clear point speakers and they point and they do their best, but it just can't be conveyed, not with language. So the mind does what it does and it
yeah.
creates a story and
Right. Well, as you say, it's fun. This can't be spoken about yet. It's fun to try.
it's apparently happening.
Right. It's just for fun, like for no reason. Like, damn, it's almost like a, you know, I know this is impossible to put into words. It just is. And yet there's something in me that just wants to express it.
Yeah, it's very ironic and playful. And yeah, there is like an exciting urge, you know, to express it, even though it's futile.
Well, I think part of it might be because we suffered so much. I mean, most did. Apparently, Sanders an exception, but for most of us, you know, there were years and decades of suffering with this me, trying to figure it out, to make it better, go to counseling, therapy, drugs, whatever you could do to make that me, you know, like snap it into shape. And then,
Right.
like I said, I just saw nothing worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't always occur to us that maybe this is okay the way it is, you know. Um, you know, you can find self-help stuff all day and everything to make yourself better, but you know, there's not a lot of, you know, just be. Um, yeah, that nobody wants to suffer.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the but, right? That like I hear a lot, like, but I don't want to suffer. And then when I say, well, you know, that's it too.
Yeah, but yeah, and that never occurs to us like this is it. Like you hear this is it, and you're like, okay, this is it. But it's not like it's not making a connection.
Oh,
And I remember finally hearing it, and I was like, oh my God, no, tell me no. You know, because this means I have to be me, you know, like I have to there's no way out, you know, and there was something so compassionate about it all because I immediately saw that, oh, well, you know, I'm not even me. Um, this is a natural phenomenon like anything else, like a tree growing or clouds in the sky, an innocent animal. Um, it was just a misunderstanding, it, you know, a base assumption that I was responsible for this phenomenon, you know.
mhm.
And it's so weird how you can just a little bit of perspective shift, you can love yourself for the way you are, and then, for lack of a better word, and yeah, when it's impersonal, it can be admired, you know, for what
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah, when it's not owned.
Hmm. Yeah. And then you're like, wow, how did I ever believe that? Or
Hey,
how was this energy of belief here? You know what I mean?
the magic show is convincing.
Yeah. And and it's so obvious now that it all just comes out of nothing, you know.
But that's the joy, right? That's the beauty, is when that scene, so to say, from nothing, the magic show. You know, back in the day, I used to be a magician, and there were like two kinds of people. You know, those that would just sit back and enjoy the shit, and just enjoy it for what it was. And then there were those like, that had to figure it out. Like, how did he do that? What's in your hand? Show me your sleeves. It became all about figuring out, and not there wasn't really much enjoyment for the magic. It was like a challenge. It was almost taken personally. Oh, you think you can fool me? Well, and
Yeah.
the idea that everything is magic already, that it doesn't need a reason to appear or disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's causeless, effortless, spontaneous. And in that way, it's magic, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I like the word magic. For a while, I was like, magic, that's, eh. I'm a skeptic. But yeah, it's like being a kid, and just being in awe and
But it was magic, right? Because like Christmas, think about like Christmas Eve, how excited, like Santa, I got presents in the you just could barely sleep. You were
yeah.
just so excited, you know?
Yeah. And that just shows the innocence of, well, humans, how naive and we can be, um, even believing in um, deities and gurus and you name it. um, Believing stories about ourselves and that we even exist as an entity. Um, it's easy. It's easy to be fooled, but it seems very fun now, you know. Um,
Well, it's been really helpful here meeting Sander, and Nkosi and now you, because for so long it was like, is there anybody else out there like this?
Yeah, well, I live in the Bible Belt, so I had this story for a long time. I'm so lonely.
Yeah.
And I had to hide that I wasn't religious just to not be, judged and all that. Um, yeah, I'm opening up a little bit more now, and there's no reason to just put yourself out there when you know you're going to be ridiculed.
Yeah, well, I love your stuff, so I hope hopefully you'll keep putting it out there. Like specifically, actually, I was telling my sister about this interview that I was getting ready to interview you, and then she doesn't like long things. So I was watching your interview with Mr. Friedman, I forget, Sid or whatever.
Did, yes, yes.
Yeah, it was great. So, but it was an hour long, and I know my sister, like, she's a TikTok, it's got to be. So I sent her your one on thoughts because I thought it was like 11 minutes, but I really liked it because it was very direct. Um, you're not your thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can hear that and be like, yeah. Or you or you can hear like this is this, it's just this, and you're like, yeah. I thought I knew that. Like, what do you mean? Like, aren't thoughts just thoughts? But there's something about thoughts, like the nature of thoughts. And it's this like energy of belief, or the lifeblood of that is given to them, not by anyone, but just it just naturally happens that way. Because you can hear somebody else's thought or opinion that you don't believe, and it has no spark, and you'll forget it in a second. Um, but something that you believe, it it can cause the body to react, and it can be doom and peril, and um, when it's literally no different from the meaningless thought. They're both symbols that can't touch what is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So what I hear there is it's like suddenly like you realize every word is a concept.
Yeah. I like to say, I love saying it's just this. This is it. I love it. It's very clear. And yet saying that it's just this implies that there's a that, right? So you can't escape it. Once you open your mouth, it's dualistic. So uh it's like trying to catch the stars or something, it's
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
yeah. But there can be a resonance, and a lot of people like using the word energy, and sometimes I do, just for lack of better way of describing things. But it's like a song. You can hear a song when you're young and depressed and heartbroken, and it means something, right? And then 10 years later, the same song means something else, maybe a little bit lighter, or something about gratitude or something. And then later it can mean something else. And it's the same song,
Yeah.
right? Which is inherently meaningless. But um, it's just beautiful how that can change in one, so-called person.
Yeah, yeah. It's how how can there be change, endless change, and yet this never changes?
Yeah. Wow.
Like a dream.
Yeah, it's like a dream.
Because you can't hold it. Like we can't grasp this moment. Oh, I wish I could savor this moment with Leela. Like, put it in my pocket, as Sanders says. No, it's already gone. Like there's no past. It's just now. It's just this.
Yeah. Like a kind of like a film reel or something.
But a single frame, like the frame is just this, and now it's this, and now that one's gone forever. Like it never happened.
Yeah. I used to have these, well, I still do sometimes, this like visceral sensations of like fear, bodily fear. Um like you feel like a speck in the universe or something like that. I don't know how to describe it, but very surreal. Just hits me sometimes, and uh just like whoa, like nobody's in control. Like it'll just hit me.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's when it's amazing. Like that's the magic we're talking about coming back in a way. It's like we lose the amazement through knowledge.
Yes. It's so ironic. Like everything is so ironic to me. Like how we put knowledge on a pedestal. We think it's power. We're taught that. Like, you can achieve anything. You can be what you want to be, um, and even in seeking, we consume all this information, and um, it just, and we're also told like it's not conceptual, it's not conceptual. And you're like, yeah, 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 I get that. And on to the next. Yeah, I put that one in my file cabinet. On to the next. Um, and something about just starting to see that, oh, I don't know. Like there's nothing that would know or could know, and there's nothing to know. Like this is all relative. Um,
Well, there seems to be this fear of not knowing anything. Like that just seems horrible.
I think that's what it is. That's um like you can like seekers can say like I want to wake up, but I don't really want to wake up, and the things that I've said before, but it is that it feels like who would live my life? Who's gonna live my life?
Yeah.
No, I must know. I must hold on. There must be a guardrail, and it's nothing. There's nothing even there. It's just images and sounds and um
Right. So the me takes that on as this is dreadful because it's like the death, forgetting about itself. The analogy I use is like, I don't know if you heard like we were taught this in school, the Greek story of Achilles. Achilles, like, was a baby, and the mother dipped Achilles in gold to protect it. But, she was holding it by the ankle. So, like, everything got golden except, so it's called your Achilles heel,
mhm.
where you can,
Yeah.
like an arrow, you can be killed there, even though you think you're protected. So it's like, I'm sorry, I completely forgot my point.
The unknowing and how we comfort ourselves with knowledge. And yeah, like it's like a comfort blanket. The
Yeah, I
concepts.
guess what I'm saying is that it seems like it can work, but there's always like a flaw in it. Like it never, you know what I mean? It never, like the me's plans never quite work out. Like it just was a falling apart, like seeing, well, wow, it's like this moment doesn't really care what I think. It seems to
Yeah.
be doing what it's doing with or without my good thoughts.
Yeah. And it's only a thought that's believed that says, well, it should be another way. But reality says it is this. And that's the simplicity and the clarity that you think is going to be some wise, profound concept, but no, it's this. um yeah, I think I forgot where I was going with that too.
Oh, sorry, it's contagious. So that's the thing, like the fear of like messing up, it's so much more relaxing when it's not there. Like to forget your place, you just sort of own it. You say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was saying." It's like it's never a problem, but we imagine when you're in the me, so to say, as a separate entity, that oh, that didn't come off so good. I didn't look wise there. And it's all about appearance.
Yeah,
All about looking good to others, that kind of thing.
yeah. And I mean, to me, that's pure hell. I mean, and I can still be self-conscious and get nervous and all that stuff, but it seems to have a different flavor. It's it seems to pass quicker, and it can be very intense. But it's already gone, you know. It's like I don't even remember it, you know. Um there's no more a momentum or like a bringing things with me. Um like I must hold a record so I won't do this next time,
Right.
nothing like that,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
um
Yeah, that's it though, right? Isn't that like the me has this laundry list, of things that shouldn't, it's just torture. It's just pure torture and it's impossible.
Yeah, and you would never do that to somebody else. You would never talk to somebody else and tell them they're pathetic, they should have done better, and whatever,
I don't know. There may be some people that do
well,
that.
yeah, you're right. But, most people, they're not going to berate a little kid for not being able to do calculus or whatever.
Well,
Yeah, I wouldn't take any of it away though.
yeah,
It wasn't fun. It
yeah.
was, but there's something about, like, you need to see the futility, and you're not going to see it until you're beaten into submission.
I guess at least here, that's what it was like. It was like try everything, and then finally, I'm like, well, what good does it do me if Muji's enlightened? Like how does that help me? So that was like started losing a taste for teachers. Because I realized it didn't do me any good. I'm still suffering. Muji's sitting up on a throne with dancing girls, and he looks pretty happy. So there was like sort of this isn't exact, but like going within, so to say, turning my what's happening just here, like rather than, and so the interest in also non-duality books fell away. Like that was weird because I used to prize those. I had like hundreds, and then one day I just woke up and go, God damn, those words sound so artificial. Like I can't read another lick.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like an explosion or anything like that, like how you would imagine. Um, I know people have different stories and it's different for everybody, but it just seems like sort of like this gradualness to it. Um, that's very ordinary. It was kind of like, oh, like this is
Yeah,
obvious.
that's how I said that to Nina in one of our meetings. She was asking me about the big bliss explosion. And I said, well, actually, Nina, it was just the opposite. It was just sort of very ordinary. Just, oh, just the,
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I've dabbled with psychedelics in my seeking journey, and I had samadhi and all that stuff. I meditated a lot and had all kinds of weird mystical experiences. And, you know, you certainly can get the wrong idea about what this is supposed to look like. And it's like you're waiting and watching for some spectacular event, to alert you that you have arrived. Um,
hold on one second. I'm putting my fan on because I'm dying over here. We're having
oh, okay, sure,
a
sure.
little hot in here. Whew. So you're in Mississippi. Is it hot there right now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's 93 degrees here
Well,
now.
you got us beat by 8. It's 85 here.
Wow, the heat index is not 96. That's actually pretty cool for August.
Well, I'm near the Pacific Ocean. Santa Monica is just like 5 miles down the road. So, it's usually a little cooler here than, as you go inland.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on the Gulf Coast.
How do you like it there, living in
Oh, I
Mississippi?
freaking love it. I love it. I used to live inland more, and then I moved down to the coast, and I don't know, I fell in love with it down here. All the seagulls and everything. Mm.
Yeah, I was shocked when so I took a video of two of our streets here, Santa Monica Boulevard and Sepulveda, and I upload. It's like 1 minute. I put some music to it. I'm not talking, just silent. But I'm showing palm trees like blowing in the wind. And so I thought, we were real special here, the way we have palm trees. And then in Kosi, showing a park in South Africa, they got plenty of palm trees. Like all of a sudden, it didn't feel so special. I'm like, oh, South Africa has palm trees too. So
Yeah, we have them here too.
yeah, they're everywhere, it
Yeah.
turns out.
We have these beautiful live oaks here. that we're famous for. There's these massive giant trees, and the limbs go way, way out, and they're like gnarly, and they go down to the ground and stuff and come
Yeah,
back.
huge. You can climb them.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one or two videos, I think, where I filmed a big tree I found.
Yeah. So what do you think, Leela? Is this really catching on a little more? Do you think there's more interest in non-duality and all these channels starting? And
It seems that way. It seems to be like getting a little bit popular, compared to 6 years ago, when I started it or started searching officially. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, I love it. I was enjoying Sanders' meeting that you were at yesterday with Jeannie. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've watched some of her videos, but I
Yeah,
really like her as well. Very
me
direct.
too. Yeah, I love her too. She's excited, and she's all about the wonder and the awe, and yeah, I love her. She just spits the words out quickly, and yeah. I wanted to tell her, I love you.
Oh yeah, when she left the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so powerful. Like I said, when Patricia was crying, for like 5 minutes, you guys were just quiet. And like something about crying just cuts through the bullshit.
Yep. Especially if you really, really do it. You really, really cry.
She was.
Yeah, yeah.
It was sobbing.
Yeah. You can just like completely disappear in moments like that of, you know, sorrow or any emotion really. Even anxiety. You can you can just like sometimes the story can just fall away, and then it's just like pure electricity. Same as exhilaration. It's the same feeling, you know, anxiety or exhilaration. It's just the thought and the label that says, "Oh, this shouldn't be here." um,
Right. But do you ever notice how, like, one of the early tries when you first hear about non-duality is sort of to mentally talk yourself out of it? Oh, there's nobody here experiencing the anxiety. It's just an illusion. It doesn't work.
no, for years, I had that as a mantra. So some horrible feeling would come up in story, and I would start beating myself up. And then I would say, "No, no, no," but there's no one here. So I would just tell myself that over and over. And it was horrible. I was repressing everything, denying everything. And when there obviously was a belief that someone was here, right?
Yeah.
Or a feeling of it or whatever. I was torturing myself
Yeah,
for no reason.
exactly. Rather than full on, like, yeah, there's full on hating this moment, or there's full on boredom out of my skull this moment. Yeah. That's
Yeah, which is already this.
Yeah, that's what can't be heard. The
Yeah.
already cannot be heard.
It's like my favorite word.
Well, then you're in the club because I've been talking already. That was the word that well, actually, Nkosi said two things. About 3.5 years ago on a post I did, it was Nkosi. I didn't know who he was, but he left a comment, very innocent, like one or two sentences. He said, "Whether there's a me or no me, this doesn't mind."
Yes. Wow.
And I'm like instantly. I was like, there's so much attention in the spiritual community on getting rid of the me. Oh, you're not free. You still got
Yes. It's a thing now. Oh my gosh. Stop making things.
So that was the first thing. Whether there's a me or no me didn't matter. That was revelatory, so to say. And then the other was Nkosi was the first one. And I just, as soon as I heard it, when he said, well, it's already, all is already this, that just stopped me in my tracks. Because I said, well, if it is, and I didn't know, like I'm just checking, I'm like just trying to. okay, if it all is this, then what am I doing? If all is this, then it's already done, right? I
Huh?
didn't, you know.
Right. But it's kind of like you have the devil and the angel, and they're both whispering in your ears. That's not true, but it can feel that way. It's like, it's already. And then you're like, it's like you're ignoring that. You're like, yeah, but, because no, this cannot be it. I'm not enjoying myself. It must be something else.
Well, ding, ding, ding. I'm not enjoying myself. That cannot be this.
Yeah, that's what it is. Maybe this can't be escaped, you know? That doesn't occur to us because it's the last thing that we want sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
And even hating the depression, hating the anxiety, hating the fear, hating the confusion, hating the washing machine.
yeah, the washing machine.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like you can't believe that see, the thing is, the me's waiting to believe that that's it too. It wants to know that the depression is it. Like, okay, well, prove it to me. No, it just already is it. There's no one there to prove it to.
Yeah, and there's never proof. I don't it's just obvious. And I used to hate when people told me that. I wanted to be like, I will strangle you. No, it is not obvious.
Well, can I tell? Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can I just tell you one thing that Jim Newman used to say that used to chap my hide?
Yeah.
Was when he'd say, someone would ask him about his awakening story, and he'd go, "Oh, it's barely worth mentioning." Barely worth mentioning. Come on,
Uh,
it made it sound so much more mysterious when he'd say it's barely worth mentioning. Now I know what he means. He means like, well, it's just as a story. It's as good as any story. That's what he means. But at the time, it
yeah.
was like something, okay, it must be really juicy if you think it's
Yeah.
barely mentioning.
I don't think he knew what he was doing to people. Yeah, when I first heard Jim and Tony, I was so offended. I was like, these are a couple of assholes. Like, and I reacted that way, and I know it was deeper than that. It was they didn't give me any control, is what it was, and I needed control. I was gonna fix this, so I went on to back to Muji or whatever, whatever it was, but or something more gentle, that was like, you got this. But I came back around eventually, and I was like, wait a minute, this is scary, but I'm resonating with it. And I was listening to Tony that day when the seeking fell, or just in the background, or when it became obvious. There was no moment really when anything happened, but it was just like that, oh, like, oh, this, and laughing and crying and like a fish that found the water.
Huh.
Mm.
Yeah, already spoke to me because it explained why, if there was no me already, that would explain why I couldn't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can hear it, or if it can be heard. Um,
Well, it just was so obvious that I go, well, oh, that's why nothing works.
yeah, that's why everything is futile. That's why I constantly self-sabotage myself. Uh,
But like this constant never-ending quest to fix myself assumes there's a self to fix.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions. They're like chains, shackles.
Yeah.
It can feel that way.
And yeah, exactly. But that pain can become too much. It's like, you have no answers. Like, it's a horrible, wonderful place to be. It's horrible because you have no answers, but it's wonderful because you're out of tries.
Yeah, it is so. devastatingly, it's like devastating and liberating at the
Yes.
same time.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's it.
Yeah. I think Jenny described it as being pushed out of an airplane or something.
She's a
Yeah.
wild woman.
She was like, no.
Yeah, yeah, that's her. See, that's what I mean. It's like I really love that personality. It's not me. Like I can't do what she does. I can like, but there's just like I love. There's like a in loveness with like, oh, look at all the beautiful ways of expressing this.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I just get lost now in music and people and just anything just happens at any moment. Just because I'm out of the way, you know?
Yeah, it's so funny how that fear, that me fear, got in the way of connect what you wanted. Like
Yeah.
I wanted connection, but I could never have it as long as I was there.
So ironic. I think the fabric of reality loves irony.
Well, there's just no rhyme or reason for anything. And
Yeah.
that can be heard as horrible, but can also be heard as, wonderful.
Yeah. It is chaotic, you know. Last place you want to look.
Yeah. Yeah, free to be everything. And again, that's why I loved, about it's free to be lost, it's free to be confused, it's free to not know, it's free to hate itself.
Yeah. And and that's when that first moment when you're like, "Oh my God, this literally is not about me."
Yes.
Like I know they told me that, and I thought I was ready for this, but it's not about me. It just is, you know. Mhm.
You could call it the great humbling.
Yes, I thought I had humbled myself enough, but apparently not.
Oh, sister, you didn't know the meaning of the word humbling
Right,
until
right.
this thing squashes you. It's just like, that's why, like, also out here, I'm directed to like ruthless people who talk about this ruthlessly. There's just zero compromise. No, that's why I like Jim. Jim just puts it out there,
Yeah.
take it or leave it.
Yeah, I like Jim and he's so funny and and Tony and Tim too. Tim, he's got a very um cheeky way, I guess, of talking about it.
Yeah, I hosted Tim here about 6 months ago, right behind me. He had a little nice little gathering here.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
that
back in LA. He's his girlfriend is here. So I just saw that he's in town. Didn't call me, but yeah, he's here.
yeah, I saw their picture and I commented, "Oh."
Oh, sweet. Yeah, they're cute. It's great. And I love the fact that both, like, she's into this, obviously probably not to the extent he is, but it doesn't matter. It's like I love what you said again with your husband. It's like we can respect each other's point of view. Like that is being like Jesus in a way. Like that
It's-
is, yeah,
yeah, there's no wrong.
yeah. But it's just so funny how rare that is. Like to say, well, yeah, we have different, but it doesn't mean anything that we don't see it the same. Like, you know what I mean? There's like an openness to that.
Like I I'm no less confused than he is. Like as far as a person goes, right? As far as I'm concerned, like clarity is utter bewilderment. It's inconceivability, you know. It's not this uh conceptual wisdom that we hold on a pedestal that, you know, we're gonna have in a golden suitcase or something and carry with us. It's I think Einstein said something about true wisdom is not knowing or something like that. But
Hmm. Yeah, who would have thought that not knowing could be so peaceful?
it's it's peaceful, it's awe-inspiring. It's like a roller coaster, you know. Um it's like a little kid that's seeing an animal for the first time.
Mm.
I've never seen a zebra before or something like that. They're just like, what? How is that even possible? Um,
Right, versus like as an adult when they get jaded. Oh, we're just going to the zoo. Yeah, there's a zebra. And again, it's that mental going to those mental concepts. I know what that is.
yeah, I know that. Yeah. There's something so deadening about knowing. It's like, I think Rosa said that's the self is knowing, you know.
Yeah, because there isn't like knowing is the same is saying past, is saying knowing.
Yeah, and it's confirmed by everybody. People gather in groups and they're like, I know this. Yeah, I know this too. Okay, we're in a group together and they they're everybody forms these little clubs and it's like confirmation bias or something like that, but we feed each other's delusions like
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because you were never, when you were in school, you could never raise your hand. Teacher calls and you say, I don't know. Like you just were never, you better have an answer. If that hand goes, because you don't want to look foolish.
right, it's shameful, you know, not to know. Oh, wow. It's like a miracle that we could even see anything past our conditioning. you know?
Well, that's why I love about us coming together. And it really, to me, this is not like it's really appreciated. Like it's really precious to connect with you and Sander and Rosa and everybody. That's it. Because for so long there was just like no one to talk to about this.
Yes.
It was really lonely. And so there's just like a in loveness with all these like, oh, there's my familia, there's my peeps. We're small, I get about 10, 12 people a meeting, maybe, but it doesn't matter. Like just that there's someone else, so to say, out there that feels here that doesn't know shit and was confused. Like, is there anyone out there? And slowly, like it seems like more and more are starting to like, yeah, maybe I don't know quite maybe it's not as solid as I thought it was.
Yeah, and it's when you start seeing that you don't know, it's easy when it was so hard before to admit. I don't know. We see it as a tool, like a powerful tool, knowing. Um, but what you were saying about the community, yeah, I felt really lonely and uh, I just wanted to commune and be like, yeah, let's agree, let's talk about it. And it's just such a human animal thing to need. And this subject is looked at as it's just odd, to most people.
Yeah, but here it's not seen as any different than a tennis club or
Right.
or a fishing group, all the millions of, meetups that are out there,
Yeah.
people like singing or dancing, and it just happens there's a few weirdos that
Yeah.
that
And
that fall.
specialness goes away from it. It's
Yeah,
even.
yeah. It's even, dare I say, like an in loveness with nothing.
I need to write that one down too.
Well, good thing it's being videoed.
Okay.
But an in loveness with nothing like doesn't make sense. Like to me, they're like, well, what does that do for me? But it's like, no, it doesn't do anything for you.
That is just so free. Not to need, right?
Yeah, because what does everything need?
Right. No, nothing was ever needed.
Girlfriend, this has been such a joy. I knew it was though, if I'm being honest. I was up for this interview. I'm like, God, that Leela, man, the way she talks is just so resonant here. Simple, short. Like growing up, I like Zen koans, you know, Zen, because
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
short and pithy. You know, you didn't need a lot. It's just,
yeah. I love Zen koans too. And your short, pithy little post that you do too. I tend to post that way too when I'm doing a little post. I'm not a big typer, you know, a long thing, but
no, no,
yeah, I was
I
so
can't.
excited.
Oh, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Michael. I was just really excited to talk with you too. I wanted to see more videos of you just like you talking, you know what I mean? Because you give your time so much to others, and but that's just me being selfish.
Well, Wednesday night, the opening, usually I do a little preamble, like the first, you know, as everybody seems to, Sander, right? Usually the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes or in Nkosi. Um, do you hold Zoom meetings?
I haven't yet. I've done a few one-on-ones, nothing like official or anything, but just people, a couple people have asked, just chats.
Okay, well, you're always welcome Wednesday night. So let's see, two, we finally figured out, so you're Central Time, so you'd be 8 o'clock your time, 6 o'clock. Oh, it's tonight, actually. In 5 hours, I forgot. Oh, man. What a,
Okay.
what a joy. Thank you so, so much. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you too, Michael, for inviting me. It's been awesome.
Great. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.